Chapter 41. Return, Hanroro's Transformation. Shu Yan carefully removed the entire Crimson Spirit Warm Jade and placed it in his storage spirit tool, but he didn't leave right away. He also collected the nearby fire-attributed ore. Around exceptionally valuable jades, special mineral veins often form. The ore around this jade had clearly been stimulated by it. Shu Yan checked the samples. After refinement, they should be strong enough to support a Spirit Master engraving core formations up to level 4. After some effort, he separated and carried away nearly 70% of the ore within a 100-meter radius. The rest, farther from the Crimson Spirit Warm Jade, hadn't fully developed. Beyond a slight discoloration, they were little different from ordinary rock, so he left them be. He exited the cave by the same tunnel, took a last look at the gray-black forest, then rose into the sky and departed without lingering. Back at Shrek Academy, Shu Yan first delivered the Iron Fire Ant's queen's corpse to the inner courtyard's assessment hall. The teacher on duty looked surprised when Shu Yan produced the corpse, made a few strokes on a sheet of paper, and then said, "Student Shu, congratulations. You've successfully passed your first new student assessment in the inner courtyard. This is also the first supervisory mission you've completed in your inner courtyard career. Thank you for your contribution to the safety of the world." Shu Yan nodded, thanked him, and left. By the time he returned home, it was late, but the lights were still on in the second floor of Hanruro's house next door. He hesitated a moment, then knocked. The door opened to the sound of approaching footsteps, and a fresh, moist scent drifted out. Hanroro stood in the doorway wrapped in a towel, water still dripping from the ends of her hair. A smile touched Shu Yan's lips. "Ruo, I'm back," he said. Surprise flashed across her face. She stepped back to let him in, closed the door against the cool evening air, and immediately began firing off questions. "You came back so quickly? Was the mission smooth? Did you meet any danger?" Shu Yan motioned for her to sit and took a place behind her. A small fragment of Crimson Spirit Warm Jade appeared in his hand, glowing a golden red. As he gently dried her damp hair, he replied, "It went very smoothly. There was no real danger. In fact, the assessment brought an unexpected surprise." Feeling his warm hands at her head, Hanruoro's heart fluttered. "What surprise? Tell your sister about it," she urged after a moment. After finishing her hair, he pressed the small piece of jade against the soft skin at the base of her neck, hidden by dark hair. A wave of warmth passed through her. She let out a contented moan, then, realizing she'd made a noise, covered her mouth and shot Shu Yan an amused glare. He took the jade back and set it on her palm. She examined it and after a moment asked uncertainly, "This is Crimson Spirit Warm Jade?" He hummed softly in confirmation and began massaging her shoulders. The texture of her skin was truly smooth. "I found a very large, excellent quality Crimson Spirit Warm Jade beneath the Iron Fire Ant's nest," he said. "I also brought back most of the fire-attributed ore that was stimulated by it. My idea is to use these materials to build a special cultivation room here. Use the jade's power to accelerate our cultivation." Hanroro turned the small piece over in her hand, thinking. "That sounds workable," she said. "I'll speak with the inner courtyard supervisors tomorrow and arrange for specialists to help with the construction. Yan, take out the jade you found. I need to see whether it should be divided." Shu Yan nodded and with a casual wave of his hand, produced the massive jade and set it on the low table in front of her. Hanroro stared. "It's so big." "I didn't expect a natural piece that large either," Shu Yan admitted, "but it's ours now." As he tightened his hold to produce the jade, his fingers left a faint red mark on Hanroro's fair skin. She gave a small cry of pain, playfully slapped his hand away, and rubbed the spot on her collarbone. "How can you massage like that? Do you have a grudge against me?" she teased. Shu Yan's gaze had lingered a moment too long on the faint mark and the subtle cleavage beneath her towel, and he felt his mouth go dry. Hanroro's beauty was undeniable. Even by his standards, she was stunning. Snowy skin, delicate features, peerless elegance. With her, he could relax in a way he couldn't with anyone else. She seemed to notice his stare and shifted slightly, then patted the space beside her. "Come sit here," she said softly. "Since you completed your mission so well, I'll give you a head massage as a reward." Shu Yan was a little surprised, but obediently settled down and laid his head in her lap. Han Roro began to massage acupoints with gentle, practiced movements. Shu Yan visibly relaxed. His thoughts quieted until his consciousness blurred. When his breathing had evened and deepened, she stopped and watched him sleep for a moment. A tender smile softened her expression as she traced the contours of his face with a pale finger. This was the boy she had watched grow from an infant, the sapling she'd raised and nurtured with countless hopes. In the long nights, she had imagined him strong and safe. Those desires had been half fulfilled already. She rose, picked up a pillow to tuck under his head, and after a moment's hesitation, lay down beside him, propping her head on one hand. For a while, she simply looked at his face, lost in thought. Eventually, she too drifted into sleep, her head resting on Shu Yan's arm. Chapter 42. Morning Ambiguity and the Special Cultivation Room. Shu Yan woke slowly from a good night's sleep, his thoughts still foggy from dream residue. He took in the familiar but slightly off furnishings around him and was about to sit up when he felt his left arm pinned down. Turning his head, he met Han Roro's sleepy eyes. Startled by his movement, she blinked and with a trace of morning sulk, yanked him back before closing her eyes again and murmuring, "Don't move. Ruo wants to sleep a little longer." Shu Yan rubbed his temple, trying to piece together how she'd ended up pressed against him. The situation was as embarrassing as it was confusing, and his head throbbed accordingly. Young men with abundant chi and a certain morning perk were prone to a literal headache. Half an hour later, just as he was about to drift back under, Han Roro, curled up sweetly against him, finally woke. When she realized she'd been using his arm as a pillow, her cheeks flamed, and she quickly freed him. Shu Yan flexed the numb arm, peered at Han Roro's mussed hair and flushed face, noticed one pajama strap slipping off her shoulder, and grinned. "Ruo, are you getting revenge for the time I used your leg as a pillow? I can hardly feel this arm anymore." Han Roro hummed softly. Lately, she'd been changing, too, moving from shy reserve toward a comfortable acceptance that surprised even herself. Shu Yan's direct looks still made her blush, but the secret warmth they gave her was unmistakable. She knew her own advantages compared to other younger girls and learned how to catch his attention. Showing him both her most beautiful and most embarrassing sides had become something she was willing to do. Seeing the possessive heat in his eyes filled a part of her she hadn't known needed filling. One-sided devotion was a painful thing. She'd been lucky not to have to suffer that. After a bit of teasing, Shu Yan inevitably lost their little skirmish and reluctantly yielded. For breakfast, they skipped the cafeteria. Han Roro cooked noodles herself. Afterwards, Shu Yan settled into his morning meditation, while Han Roro went out to handle matters for the cultivation room. By noon, she returned with a crew of 7 or 8 people. Shu Yan took out the ore he'd refined from the Crimson Spirit Warm Jade. It would form the core of the cultivation room. The crew quickly constructed the main structure, then added the finishing touches with a speed and professionalism that made Shu Yan marvel. They were Shrek Academy's civil engineering team. Their efficiency and service were unlike anything he'd seen in his previous life. When the workers left, Han Roro produced the split halves of the Crimson Spirit Warm Jade and set one half squarely in the room's center. As the soul-guiding formation took hold, golden-red sigils spread across the walls. Warm chi filled the air. Shu Yan and Han Roro felt their spirit power being tempered and nourished by a scorching, invigorating force. It felt like a sauna for the soul. Sweat purled on their skin as hot chi flowed through them. Their bodies lightened, impurities subtly evaporating, every cell vibrating with renewed energy. "This is incredible," Han Roro sighed with a smile. "This Crimson Spirit Warm Jade is a treasure. If I keep cultivating with this, I bet it could shave at least half a year off the time it takes me to break through to Spirit Douluo. It's strengthening my foundation constantly. If I'm lucky, maybe I could absorb a 100,000-year spirit ring for my 8th ring." Shu Yan felt the changes in his own spirit power. Curious, he asked, Ruo, what's the upper limit you can handle for the 8th ring in terms of thousands of years?" She thought a moment. "Probably 70 to 80,000 years. Anything higher would push me past my endurance." "Good," he said, pleased but plotting. If I told you I had a way to let you absorb 100,000-year ring for your 8th ring, how would you thank me? Hanruo blinked at the sudden question, then laughed and flashed a bright smile. Let's see. If Yan truly pulls that off, Ruo will unconditionally agree to 3 of your requests. No requests that make me go against my nature, like making me wantonly slaughter innocents, Shu Yan added gently, smiling. I wouldn't ask such things, she replied, eyes warm and mischievous. Ruo keeps her promises. Their laughter died down when the cultivation room's door was flung open and a golden-red blur barreled inside. Wu Ming burst in and stopped dead the instant she crossed the threshold. Her face flushed as she reached out and drank in the vibrant qi. She spread her arms and then whooped. Heaven! This is heavenly. I feel like I could transcend. Shu Yan, you are my god. She lunged to hug him, but before she came within a meter, golden cords wound around her and tied her up like a dumpling. Wu Ming flailed on the floor, red-faced and breathless. Shu Yan sighed and rubbed his forehead. Wu Ming was capable and loyal, but reckless to a fault. After a while, she calmed enough for Hanruo to release her. Hanruo took a firmer tone. Minger, this place is perfect for cultivating, but from now on you can only use it 3 hours a day. No more. If you go over, don't say I didn't warn you. Why? Wu Ming asked, puzzled. Hanruo poked her forehead and spoke seriously. Have you forgotten the extreme yang heart fire in your body? The crimson spirit warm jade tempers spirit power and meridians, but it also affects the mind. If you stay too long, once your heart fire ignites, you could become the next Ma Xiaotao. 3 hours here equals most of a day on a simulated cultivation ground. You're already at rank 68 spirit power. In 2 or 3 months, you could break through to Spirit Saint. When that happens, Lishuan and I will take you hunting spirit beasts, and Yan will come too. Wu Ming's shoulders sagged. She nodded, clutching her clothes. Okay, I understand, Ruo. Hanruo then asked Shu Yan and Wu Ming to clear out any useless clutter. This space would be their private cultivation room from now on. Friends could use it, but others were not welcome. The half of the Crimson Spirit Warm Jade had its limits. Shu Yan estimated the room could accommodate up to 6 people at once. If anyone present had cultivation above Spirit Douluo rank, the room's effect would be halved. Shu Yan didn't intend to keep the other half of the jade. He planned to have Guyun send it back to Lingdo City. He couldn't help wondering how Yu Bingyan would react to receiving such a massive piece of Crimson Spirit Warm Jade. For some reason, the thought stirred a faint anticipation in his chest. Author's note, I'm taking my driver's license theory test today, sacrificing one of my brother's hairs for luck. Please give me monthly votes, recommendation votes, collections, investments, and rewards. Chapter 43, Spirit Saint Wu Ming, Stardew Hunt. Time slipped by, and in the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. In the cultivation chamber, golden red ripples spread like waves. The walls faintly glowed, the air temperature rose dramatically, and the heat bent the air with subtle distortion. The crimson spirit warm jade at the room's center pulsed continuously. Then, with a clear cry, a tall figure wrapped in golden red flames shot upward. Behind her, a colossal golden crow spirit suddenly unfurled its wings. For a moment, it felt like another sun had appeared in the sky. Watching the scene, Shu Yan murmured, Senior Sister Wu Ming's golden crow spirit is nothing like a weak spirit. Its quality rivals the evil fire phoenix, and its attribute is almost indistinguishable from ultimate fire. The pity is neither the golden crow nor the evil fire phoenix is perfect. Each can bring grave difficulties to its spirit master. Hanruo remembered something and spoke after a pause. Yes, but Ma Xiaotao's situation was far worse than Minger's. Yan, you should have seen what happened when her evil fire lost control. Back then Ma Xiaotao was only a spirit king, but when her evil fire broke free, even I, a spirit emperor, felt fear. That kind of power was suffocating. Shu Yan said nothing, only watching Wu Ming hover in midair. A wave of heat rushed out as Wu Ming descended slowly to the ground. After her breakthrough to Spirit Saint, her already unusual golden red eyes looked sharper, more heroic. Her face showed no obvious change, but her skin seemed a touch paler, and faint golden red patterns shimmered beneath its surface. Wu Ming tossed her long golden red hair and wore a proud expression, as if the past troubles had been swept away. Shu Yan, she said, clapping his shoulder. Once I get my 7th spirit ring, the 3 of us, plus Yao and Gufan, will head to the Dohun district to train properly. Then, you'll get to feel the power of my Golden Crow true fire. She gave a chuckle, and in an instant the fierce demeanor vanished. All right, but I hope senior sister won't mind me touching her clothes then. Shu Yan smiled lightly. With that one line, Wu Ming's expression flipped like a face-changing performance. After a long moment, she huffed indignantly. That was an accident. You, kid with space power. Teleporting is nothing to you. If you've got the nerve, don't use spatial power, and see if I, your senior sister, won't burn your backside with my Golden Crow true fire. Shu Yan simply smiled and said nothing. Han Ruoruo watched the two bicker and couldn't help the corners of her mouth lifting. Minger's breakthrough to Spirit Saint is good news, and sooner than I expected, she said. A few days from now, we'll go to the Stardew Great Forest to hunt for Minger's 7th spirit ring. Wu Ming hugged one of Han Ruoruo's arms out of habit. Besides you, me, Ruoruo, and Shu Yan, who else is coming? Yaoer and Gufan, Han Ruoruo answered. They were bored and asked to join when they heard we were going hunting. It'll increase our odds and safety. Wu Ming's smile grew wider. The inner court students were geniuses once in 100 years. This spirit hunt assembled the top-tier talent of the inner court. If anything unexpected still happened, she vowed she would chop off her own head and feed it to the fish in Sea God Lake. That was the confidence of her Golden Crow pride. 3 days later, the team assembled and flew over Sea God Lake. Leaving the Shrek City area, they headed straight for the Stardew Great Forest. Gufan, an agility attack type spirit master, led the front as scout, gathering information. Zhang Lexuan, Wu Ming, Hua Yao, and Shu Yan formed a protective circle around Han Ruo in the center. Control-type spirit masters were always the core of a hunting team. Here both Han Ruo and Hua Yao were control types, but Han Ruo's cultivation, spirit power, and experience made her the primary control spirit master. A silver moonlight glow swept about a meter above the ground, turning plants in its path to dust. With the undergrowth cleared, the group moved into the mixed zone without hindrance. Most spirit beasts here had over 1,000 years of cultivation. Many reached 10,000 years, and occasionally a 100,000-year beast would wander this far from the core zones. Finding one would be an extraordinary stroke of luck. Even so, their pace did not slow. Their lineup might not stand against a 100,000-year spirit beast, but it was more than enough to handle anything under that level. An hour later, Gufan, still scouting ahead, sent back a report. Zhang Lexuan frowned and told everyone, Gufan found a group of red flame thorns in a canyon ahead. Their clan's not small. The leader has at least 10,000 years of cultivation. Wu Ming snorted in disdain. Don't worry about them. We'll go around, or if they provoke us, I'll burn them all with my Golden Crow true fire. Red flame thorns were a rare fire attribute plant-type spirit beast, but at most they were advanced spirit beasts, upper middle among plant types. Against Wu Ming's Golden Crow true fire, which neared ultimate fire, they would stand no chance. Of course, they were still much stronger than blue silvergrass. Zhang Lexuan glanced at Wu Ming and said softly, Let Gufan scout thoroughly first. Although red flame thorns aren't formidable in direct combat, their clans and surrounding areas often attract other powerful fire attribute spirit beasts. A while back, a senior from the inner court hunting here found a fire griffin nesting among a red flame thorns group. The two had a cooperative relationship. Hua Yao nodded. In the spirit beast world, plant types often cooperate with ordinary beasts of the same attribute. If our luck's good, we could find a spirit suitable for Minger nearby. Wu Ming's eyes lit up and she nodded eagerly. Shu Yan and Han Ruo fell silent, both waiting for Gufan's detailed scouting report. A gentle breeze whispered through the treetops, rustling the leaves. With a faint whoosh from afar, a slender figure suddenly appeared before the 5 of them. Gufan was not striking in appearance, but his bearing was steady and composed, giving off a quietly refined, easy-to-approach impression. Senior sister, I did a quick scan, he reported. There are other spirit beasts deep in the canyon where the red flame thorns are. I can't make out the exact species, but from their aura, their fire attribute. Their cultivation isn't low, at least 30,000 years. As Gufan spoke, Shu Yan caught a flash of something unusual in Hua Yao's eyes. Han Ruoro noticed it too. She hooked Shu Yan's pinky with hers. The two exchanged a look and both smiled. It was easy to see why Hua Yao and Gufan drew to each other. Both were gentle and polite, the kind of people who naturally fit together, each reflecting the partner image the other might quietly imagine. Zhang Lexuan listened, then dipped her head to think for a moment. "Hide and observe from the shadows," she said softly. "I'll try to lure the beast out. I have a feeling it will be perfect for Ming'er." They all considered the plan and finally agreed. Zhang Lexuan's strength was obvious. With her top-tier spirit moon and a 100,000-year 8th spirit ring, her true combat power rivaled that of many ordinary titled Douluo. It made sense for her to take point. They finished the quick arrangements, and Zhang Lexuan transformed into a silver streak and sped off. Her speed was astonishing. Even Gu Fan, whose Spirit Emperor specialty emphasized agility and burst, had to blink. After she left, Han Ruoro turned to the others. "Circle the canyon's rim and stay hidden," she instructed. "We'll move in depending on what happens, especially you, Ming'er. Don't act rashly like during past hunts." Wu Ming nodded eagerly. When she needed to be focused, she could be rational. When she wasn't, she tended to act on impulse. Shu Yan chuckled and leaned toward Gufan. "Senior Gufan, let's go ahead." Gufan's face softened into a shy smile. He nodded, and the two of them melted away together. Han Ruoro watched them go and murmured with a touch of helpless amusement, "Those two, I don't even know what to say." Zhang Lexuan rode the wind and soon arrived above the canyon, thick with red flame thorns. Below, the fiery red thorns packed the slope like a living sea. She studied the auras and found, to her surprise, that the strongest of the red flame thorns there had already reached 30,000 years of cultivation. Plants were slower to grow than many other spirit beasts, and those from weaker clans were especially vulnerable to predation until they reached a certain stage. Many never survived that early period. Zhang Lexuan shot down into the canyon like a silver meteor. Before long, she found a massive nest built on a lattice of withered trees. "A bird-type spirit beast," she murmured. "Its aura, it's between 45 and 50,000 years. We were right to come." She let a thin smile cross her face. Spirit rings rose underfoot. First the blood-red 8th ring, a 100,000-year ring, sending a wash of crimson that trembled in the settling dusk. Behind her, a colossal silver moon materialized, and her first-ranked yellow spirit ring winked into being. Beams of brilliant moonlight poured from that moon and struck toward the nest. A shrill cry split the air. Ripples of blazing red radiated outward from the nest, and when the moonbeams met those ripples, they hardened, then flared up and were gone, burned to ash. In the darkness, a pair of red eyes opened slowly. Fire lines lanced from the nest in every direction toward Zhang Lexuan, the air around them warping. The heat and flame were fierce, tea compared to the golden crow true fire of Wu Ming's golden crow spirit. Zhang Lexuan watched those infernal lines and raised a jade hand. She slammed it down. Moonlight rained like meteors to collide with the fire lines. Sparks flew, and a fierce wind swept through. The falling embers set surrounding trees alight. The disturbance sent the red flame thorns into a frenzy. Dozens, then hundreds of dark red thorny vines writhed up, each wreathed in flame. From a distance, it looked like an ocean of living fire. Zhang Lexuan hung in the air, the silver moon behind her bathing her in cool light. A second ear-splitting cry came from the nest. A giant figure pushed free, unfolded its wings, and rose. Its plumage was a glorious blend of gold, red, and purple, soft yet resplendent. Those golden tail feathers in particular radiated a noble majesty. When it spread its wings, wind poured from them, fueling the flames below and exciting the red flame thorns even more. From a distant ridge, Wu Ming stared, stunned. Her jaw dropped. Then she grabbed Han Ruoro's and Hua Yao's arms and shouted, breathless with excitement, "It's a Yangji bird! A Yangji bird! Senior sister, Ruo Jie, Yao Jie, help me take it down!" There's no bird-type spirit beast in this world more perfect for me than that one. As she spoke, 6 matched spirit rings flared beneath her feet, and a pair of golden red wings sprang from her back. With a single beat, she launched forward like a cannonball. So fast, even Han Ruoro and Hua Yao couldn't react in time. "Oh no, Leshuan hasn't drawn it out yet, and Ming'er." Hanroro ground her teeth. She should have bound Wu Ming to her with the golden rope. Now things were out of hand. Huayao sighed, rubbing her forehead. She patted Hanroro's shoulder and said softly, "It's not the first time. Hiding now won't help. If we have to, we'll kill the beast. That'll solve it." Hanroro snatched a small tree trunk about as thick as a bowl and tore it free with a groan. "Gufan, a Yan, Yaoer, take care of these troublesome red flame thorns nearby. I'll go assist," she ordered, and then she sped off. Shu Yan shrugged and vanished in a silver blur. Huayao hesitated, glanced at Gufan and said quietly, "Be careful." Gufan's whole body trembled. He nodded, at a loss for words. "You too," he managed. Huayao's smile was slight but unmistakable, a small curve that stirred something fierce in Gufan's chest. For a beat he felt dizzy and elated all at once. Oh my, could I really be getting out of singlehood? Chapter 45, Spatial Fission and the Red Flame. Thorn's king's right leg bone. Countless thorn-like spines, dense as steel needles, shot out in a frenzy while scorching flames roared, lighting the dim sky once more. The heavens were braided with fire. Silver, gold, and reddish-gold spirit power collided overhead, trembling the surrounding rocks as if they might crumble. The battle below was no less fierce. The red flame thorns were weak individually, but in overwhelming numbers, and with coordinated assaults, they tangled their enemies and delayed them. Delicate lotus flowers kept rising from the ground and blooming. Their rich scent masked the acrid smell of burning and instantly slew countless of the thorns. Gufan, an agility attack system spirit master, avoided direct brawling. Relying on speed, he slipped through the horde and hunted with ease. Shu Yan watched the fight from his concealed spatial position. After scanning for a moment, the corner of his mouth curved upward. He had found the king within the swarm. Using space-time shatter to clear a path, Shu Yan's form turned to silver light as he darted through the encirclement. The red flame thorn's king before him was far thicker and more ferocious than the others. A silver flash burst from Shu Yan's palm. The surrounding space froze as if time hesitated. A massive spatial blade condensed in an instant, and the fabric of space began to shred inch by inch. When the blade struck at extreme speed, the battlefield fell into an eerie silence. A huge mushroom cloud rose, and a hot wave bearing sand, dust, and earth leveled everything nearby. When the smoke cleared, only a charred thorn, still smoking, remained at the center of the blast. Gufan and Huayao had retreated just in time at Shu Yan's whispered warning before the explosion. Even so, watching the mushroom cloud climb, they felt a chill. The aerial battle above froze momentarily at the commotion Shu Yan had created. The three women's eyes widened, but they quickly reminded themselves of the more immediate threat and refocused on their opponent. Questions about the blast could wait. "Ro, Minger, go all out. He's probably near his limit," Zhang Lexuan called. Her fifth spirit ring flared to life, and the crescent moon overhead turned a brilliant gold. In a flash, the golden crescent split, and another identical crescent descended. The light coalesced into a razor-sharp scythe. Wherever its moonlight passed, even space seemed to be cleaved. The Yangji bird cried mournfully, its massive body torn and bleeding. It could sense the terrible force of Zhang Lexuan's fifth spirit ability and tried to flee, but it was trapped by another spirit ability. The golden rope, a top-tier control tool spirit, bound it utterly. No matter how it struggled, it could not move. The golden scythe sliced it clean in half at the waist. Wu Ming's eyes flashed. She rushed forward and unleashed a golden crow true fire blast on the dying beast, finishing it. The Yangji bird's ruinous body slammed into the still-burning forest below. Wu Ming shouted and then beat her wings, following the carcass down. Zhang Lexuan and Han Ruoro watched her go, then reluctantly followed themselves. When they regrouped, Wu Ming was already absorbing the ink-black 10,000-year spirit ring. After a brief check to confirm no one was hurt, Zhang Lexuan turned to Shu Yan and asked softly, "Junior brother Shu Yan, that commotion just now, was that you?" All eyes fixed on him as if he were a marvel. Shu Yan didn't hide anything. "Yes, it wasn't nothing. The power came from spatial fission." He explained quietly, "Spatial fission can generate energy and destructive force beyond imagination. I applied it in the attack, so the power surged. Otherwise, I couldn't have killed that red flame thorn's king, a creature with 30,000 years of cultivation, in a single strike." Surprise spread across their faces. Gufan fell silent a moment, then said with admiration, "Junior brother Shu Yan really lives up to being the most talented new student in the inner courtyard. Honestly, watching you now, I feel like I'm seeing the old senior sister. Your dominance makes the rest of us look helpless." Hua Yao nodded. From inside the inner courtyard, they could see how extraordinary Shu Yan was. Only 11 years old, while most inner courtyard students were 18 or older. Yet his cultivation had soared in half a year, closing the gap rapidly and even surpassing peers. Zhang Lexuan felt both surprised and reassured. Surprised by the mysterious, overwhelming power Shu Yan wielded, and reassured that the inner courtyard had such a prodigy. Shu Yan chuckled and accepted their praise with easy grace. He had climbed from the 44th spirit rank to the 48th in months and was on course to become a spirit king before he turned 12, a speed almost unprecedented in the inner courtyard. After a beat, Shu Yan added, "There was actually a surprise during the soul hunting operation, something I almost missed." He produced a fiery red bone from his spirit tool, a right leg bone that glowed faintly. Zhang Lexuan's eyes sharpened. "This is the right leg bone of the Red Flame Thorns King?" Shu Yan nodded. "Yes. I nearly overlooked it after killing him. Fortunately, before I left, I used my mental force to search, and I found this spirit bone." Everyone leaned in, stunned. They examined the bone closely for a long moment. Then Han Roro said, "Yan, since you killed the Red Flame Thorns King, the spirit bone belongs to you. Do with it as you please." Hua Yao and Gufan agreed at once. Zhang Lexuan also nodded. "That's right, junior brother Shu Yan. It's yours to decide." Hua Yao, standing nearby, laughed and then teased, "Junior brother Shu Yan, even though the spirit bone is yours, Gufan and I helped hold back many red flame thorns. Aren't you going to show a little appreciation?" Shu Yan smiled wryly, letting his gaze sweep over Hua Yao and Gufan. "Of course I'll show appreciation. How about this? I'll treat senior sister Hua Yao and senior brother Gufan to a big meal, but I won't come along. The two of you can go without me. Recently, Ro Rojie's been clingy and I need to stay with her." Hua Yao, who'd been smiling, flushed crimson. Gufan cleared his throat and shuffled awkwardly, not sure what to do with his hands. Zhang Lexuan and Han Ruoro exchanged amused looks. Unable to stand the teasing, Hua Yao glared at Shu Yan, then bolted to a nearby spot to cool off. Shu Yan winked at Gufan. Gufan hesitated for a beat, then seemed to steel himself, shot Shu Yan a grateful look, and hurried after the direction Hua Yao had fled. Chapter 46, Lovers Eventually Become Family, Single Dogs Eventually Get Emo. Shu Yan watched Gufan's back as he walked away with the benevolent expression of an indulgent elder. Then the smile slipped away and he was himself again. "Huh, I suppose I do have a knack for matchmaking," he sighed softly. Zhang Lexuan and Han Ruoro went from surprised to amused. "Hua Yao and Gufan have known each other a long time," Zhang Lexuan said. "I noticed ages ago there was something between them. Too bad neither was very proactive. I thought I'd have to wait until the next Sea God Lake to find a chance to nudge them together, but I didn't expect junior brother Shu Yan to manage it today." Zhang Lexuan's tone carried a small, fond pride. Seeing classmates finally become a couple was a pleasant thing, so long as it wasn't someone you secretly liked. The inner courtyard had dozens of students, but real couples were rare. Apart from Han Roro and Shu Yan, who were the subject of much gossip, there weren't any normal couples at all. So Hua Yao and Gufan taking this step felt like a big advance for the notoriously single congregation. Shu Yan suddenly remembered something and asked softly, "Senior sister, is there someone you like?" Zhang Lexuan paused, then smiled properly. She neither confirmed nor denied directly. "Perhaps," she said, "but in recent years I've grown less interested in that. Since my cultivation entered the spirit Douluo level, I've come to value the path itself more, the mystery and depth of it. What matters to me now is cultivating diligently and breaking through to a new domain as soon as possible." "So that's it." Shu Yan chuckled and dropped the subject. Her hint of feeling had been enough, but overall her mood seemed steady. Perhaps, as she said, her thoughts were mostly on cultivation. Han Ruoro looked at Zhang Lexuan with no change in expression, only a gentle smile. When she turned to Shu Yan, her smile grew warmer, with a faint trace of attachment. Night passed quietly. Early the next morning, a thin mist hung in the air, beads of dew clinging to flowers, grass, and leaves before slipping onto the damp earth. The blaze from last night's battle had been put out. Nearby tree stumps still released faint spirals of black smoke. Han Roro leaned on Shu Yan's shoulder with her eyes closed. He stared off toward the distant mountains, expression unreadable. A sudden surge of scorching spirit power washed out through the clearing. Zhang Lexuan, who had been dozing against an ancient tree, opened her eyes and looked toward Wu Ming, who had already risen to her feet, eyes bright with excitement. Amazing! Is this the spirit saint level? Wu Ming breathed. I feel my spirit comprehension deepen. My power is at least twice what it was. No wonder people call Spirit Saint one of the key milestones in the spirit world, she continued, exhilarated. The mysteries inside it are incredible. Her fists clenched as heat seemed to radiate from her. Her aura was undeniably stronger. Zhang Lexuan smiled warmly. Minger, congratulations on becoming the inner courtyard's third Spirit Saint. As a reward, Ruo and I will let you challenge both of us when we get back. Wu Ming's joy froze halfway and then melted into a pout. Zhang Lexuan's second sentence had the exact opposite effect of a reward. That's punishment for not following orders yesterday and acting on your own, Zhang Lexuan said. Don't try to run. We'll see whether you've improved since breaking through to Spirit Saint. If not, Lexuan and I will give you extra training. Han Roro added the final blow without mercy. Women were vengeful in their own way. What had happened the night before was not forgotten. Wu Ming wanted to escape, but no matter how she wriggled, she couldn't get away from Zhang Lexuan and Han Roro and their merciless teasing. Suddenly, Wu Ming felt the world dim. Not long after, Gu Fan and Hua Yao returned, hand in hand. Under everyone's amused and relieved gazes, Hua Yao flushed, and Gu Fan stepped forward to shield her with a soft cough. Wu Ming stared at their interlaced hands, bewildered, then turned to Han Roro with a blank expression. Roro J, she said slowly. I only spent one night absorbing the spirit ring, right? Why does everything seem different? Why are Sister Yao and Gu Fan holding hands all of a sudden? Han Roro pinched Wu Ming's cheek and chuckled. They liked each other already, but neither was bold enough to act. A yawn helped them last night. Now they're a couple. A thunderous roar of mock despair echoed from Wu Ming as a sudden heavy rain began to sprinkle. She grabbed a branch and squatted by a scorched stump, drawing circles in the dirt and cursing everyone in a high, melodramatic voice. Woo-oo, how did you all pair up and leave me single? If you're all taken, how am I supposed to live? Is being single a crime? If so, punish me, but stop showing off your lovey-dovey in front of me. Everyone laughed at her theatrics. Hua Yao released Gu Fan's hand, and, seeing the cut at his mouth, a shy look crossed her face. She went over, pulled Wu Ming up by the wrist, and said softly, Minger, you'll find someone. Maybe someday we'll have our weddings together by Sea God Lake. That only deepened Wu Ming's melancholy. Her real joy at achieving Spirit Saint and gaining her 7th spirit ring was diluted by the thought of being left out. She genuinely didn't know who would brave her reputation and personality and choose her, if anyone would at all. She had high standards for a future partner. They couldn't be extraordinarily precocious in cultivation. She hoped they wouldn't be a spirit emperor by 20 or 30. That would make dominance awkward. Above all, in the relationship, she wanted to be the one with the upper hand, unless the other's talent and strength far surpassed hers. Otherwise, she needed someone who would listen to her. Relationships, after all, tend to favor the stronger, more influential partner. Wu Ming's nature was fiery. To form a stable relationship, one of two things had to happen. Either her partner would absolutely defer to her, or they would be so powerful they could bend her will and transform the Golden Crow Saintess into an obedient maiden. Those were, in her mind, the only viable paths forward. Chapter 47, Breakthrough, titled Douluo and the Past Lingdo City. Unlike the booming prosperity of Shrek City, Lingdo City in the east felt newer, more advanced. The dueling empire's most cutting-edge soul-guiding device technology had been installed here. It didn't reach the Sun Moon Empire's level, but there was a definite hint of futurism. When the city was expanded and renovated, planners had borrowed heavily from the Sun Moon Empire's urban design, So both inside and out, one could see a few unmistakable signs that influence. Shu family manor in the quiet room. Faint golden light braided with the white jade walls, golden filigree spiraling upward until it merged entirely with the jade surface. 87th level. Yu Bingyan's aura slowly calmed, and a smile slipped onto her already refined face, which had only grown more noble and elegant with time. The holy light torso bone and the crimson spirit warm jade that Shu Yan had sent back had helped her cultivation tremendously. She was already gifted, an angel spirit bearer, and with Shu Yan's aid, her path through the spirit Douluo realm had become far smoother. In just half a year, she had leapt 3 spirit levels, a pace that left several veteran Shu family spirit Douluo openly envious. After a moment of steadying her breath, Yu Bingyan rose and stretched. Her lithe figure radiated a cool, lethal charm. The combination of aloofness and grace made her irresistible in a subtle way. She pushed open the quiet room's door and immediately saw Shu Junyu standing beneath the veranda nearby. The two exchanged a smile. Years together had honed a tacit understanding between them. Often a single glance said more than many words. They walked along the elegant veranda, watching concentric ripples drift across the garden lake. Yu Bingyan plucked a delicate golden blossom. The moment it was removed, its petals began to fall and wither, fragile as weather that changes from clear to storm without warning. "You broke through?" she asked, scanning Shu Junyo. For some reason, his aura felt different today. "Yes, 2 nights ago." Shu Junyu nodded plainly. Yu Bingyan blinked, then brightened. "Good news. Has Elder Han mentioned hunting for your 9th spirit ring? If necessary, I can gather some people to help." Shu Junyu chuckled. "Elder Han is already recruiting. Senior Tianyang, Senior Ye Ruje of the Ye family, Elder Han and Han Feng have agreed. 2 imperial consorts are coming, and Shi Xing said he wants to join. We've basically got enough. 2 super Douluo, 6 titled Douluo, plus you and me. That's more than enough. No need to recruit anyone else." Yu Bingyan wasn't surprised, only curious. From the lineup, nearly 70% of the nation's top figures are involved. What's the target? Shu Junyo's gaze drifted east as he answered slowly and firmly. "Do you remember the swallowing sea whale emperor that appeared in the East Sea? That's our target. Otherwise, we wouldn't be mobilizing on this scale. The ocean is different from the land, too vast and too mysterious, filled with countless creatures. Aside from those extremists in the body sect, I've never heard of anyone brave enough to dive into the ocean to hunt for 100,000-year spirit beast spirit rings. This hunt is very dangerous." Yu Bingyan was taken aback at the name. Looking at Shu Junyo's determined eyes, she fell quiet for a long moment before replying softly, "It's all right. Even if the ocean isn't our home turf, with Senior Tianyang and Senior Ye here, I don't expect surprises. Think of it as paving the way for a Yan." Shu Junyo added, "We can't touch the 100,000-year spirit beasts in the Star Do Great Forest. Other places on the continent with 100,000-year beasts are either in the Sun Moon Empire or don't have creatures suitable for a Yan. The ocean looks like our best option." Shu Junyu knew how essential a 100,000-year spirit ring was to a titled Douluo. Without one, even the most talented person was capped, perhaps around level 97. Breaking into level 98 was like trying to scale the heavens. Reaching the limit, Douluo Summit, was even harder. But the continent's situation made terrestrial options unreliable. The Star Do Great Forest's beasts couldn't be hunted without risks. Slight meddling could provoke the vicious beasts in the land of great fierceness. A severe disturbance might trigger another beast tide and bring catastrophic consequences. Humans could no longer rely solely on land spirit beasts for those rare spirit rings. The ocean had to be explored. The body sect had already gone ahead and proven such a path possible. If the lineup and strength were sufficient, humans could overcome even the ocean's terrors. Fortunately, the swallowing sea whale's territory wasn't in the ocean's deepest reaches. A few inhabited islands lay nearby, part of the dueling empire, with shipping routes to the mainland. That made the mission less reckless than it might have been. A cool breeze drifted over the veranda, and Yu Bingyan's thoughts returned. She puckered briefly, then asked, "What do you make of what a Yan did in Shrek City some time ago?" Shu Junyu's expression flickered with surprise. Then he offered a helpless smile. Yu Bingyan wasn't asking about Shu Yan threatening the joint auction house and the 9 treasure glazed tile school. She was asking about what lay behind those actions. After a moment's thought, Shu Junyu replied gently, "Don't overthink it. You know what happened then. She and I were nothing more than classmates. You also know what kind of person she really is." Yu Bingyan snorted softly and leaned into her husband's embrace. She was quiet for a long time before she spoke again. "You're right. The 9 treasure glazed tile school always favors the sect over the individual. To be honest, I feel a little sorry for her. She was lively and innocent once, but as the heir of that sect, she was shaped by forces she couldn't understand. In the end, reality forced her into becoming the very image of those elders she disagreed with." Shu Junyu wrapped an arm around her waist, calm as ever. The past drifts away like smoke. Old acquaintances scatter like leaves in the wind or flowers trampled in the mud, transformed into things we never expected. Everyone carries sorrow and helplessness, but after feeling lost, they still have to stand up and keep moving. Only by moving forward is there hope for change. If they stop, their lives will be trapped in a quagmire, stuck until they're swallowed by the endless sea of the mundane world. Chapter 48, Purity and Desire. Shrek Academy, Inner Courtyard. A small metal desk lamp cast a pool of warm light over a corner of the lawn. Shu Yan sat in a chair, staring blankly at the letter in his hand. He only came back to himself slowly after a long moment. Han Roro walked over with 2 cups of warm milk. Seeing his expression, she smiled and asked, "You look distracted. What's wrong?" Shu Yan nodded and handed the letter to her. Han Roro scanned it, and a trace of surprise brightened her face. "Uncle Shu broke through to title Douluo, and he's heading to the sea to hunt a 100,000-year spirit beast?" Shu Yan sipped the milk and replied, "Yes. With so many experts taking part, it had to be a target that big. It's just, this news came out of nowhere. I only learned he'd broken through from this letter." Han Roro reached out and ruffled his hair, then said gently, "Don't worry so much. With Senior Tianyang and Grandpa Shu leading, plus Grandpa Ye, the 9-heart begonia titled Douluo, and my grandfather's group, even if they run into a vicious sea beast, they can handle it. Their goal is a single 100,000-year spirit beast. Even if the beast has a home field advantage, it's impossible for it to face that many powerhouses at once." Shu Yan took her hand casually, her skin cool and soft like jade, and twined his fingers through hers. He chuckled. "Of course I'm not worried about the lineup, but there's something else. Ruo Jie, didn't you just break through to level 77 recently?" Han Ruoro sat beside him and tried to pull her hand free. Shu Yan, however, tugged gently and almost drew her into his lap. She settled back into the chair, glared at him with mock annoyance, and said, "Yes, I'm level 77 now. If you, a mere spirit ancestor, bully your senior again, I'll tie you up with the golden rope and spank you like when you were little." Shu Yan froze. Unpleasant childhood memories flashed through his mind so quickly, he couldn't help blushing. Han Roro noticed and immediately increased the teasing. "Oh, our all-capable Junior Ayan actually has things he can't deal with? Want your senior to help you relive childhood?" "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone," she added, grinning. She finally wrenched her hand free. Shu Yan still didn't respond. The smile on Han Ruo's face faded into puzzled concern. "Ayan, I was joking. You're not really mad, are you?" She reached to rest her hand on his shoulder. Before she could, Shu Yan's figure vanished. Han Roro felt the world tilt. A moment later, she woke up, sprawled on the large soft bed nearby. Shu Yan's presence was suddenly so close it felt almost aggressive. She shivered and automatically tried to push him away, but a big hand had already pinned both her wrists together. "Ayan, what are you?" she began. Shu Yan froze for a heartbeat, then a mischievous grin curved his lips. He bent close to her ear and murmured, "Do it." Han Roro's almond eyes went wide, not sure she'd heard him right. Then she struggled hard. Up close, Shu Yan could see the flush to her earlobe, delicate and bright. Her struggling made him want to tease her more, but the sight of her reddened face slowly softened his mischief. He rose and let her hands go. Mortified, Han Roro grabbed a pillow and flung it at him. Shu Yan didn't bother dodging, merely raising a hand to catch it. She hadn't meant to hit him for real. Once she'd calmed, Shu Yan took the pillow back and with gentle hands reached for one of her bare feet and began to massage it. No. Hanruoro's voice was suddenly small and embarrassed. She'd allowed him to play with her hands earlier, but touching her feet, her most sensitive spot, felt intimate in a way that betrayed her composure. When he slipped a little more pressure into the massage, a rush of warmth unfurled through her body. Her knees went mushy, words on her tongue caught and vanished. Shu Yan watched her bite her lip, sweat beating at her temples, and let a teasing smile linger. He'd only discovered this fatal weakness of hers recently and was using it now to retaliate for her bringing up his childhood, not because he had some strange fetish. Seeing her on the edge of her tolerance, he stopped. With a quiet, caring tone, he used his spirit power to levitate the other cup of milk from the table, tilting it so it rested against her lips. "Ruroji, drink this and get some sleep. It's late." His smile was soft, with no hint of the mischief that had been there minutes before. Hanruoro opened her mouth obediently, and the milk flowed across her tongue. Under his steady gaze, she finished the cup. Shu Yan reached for a tissue, his hand pausing as he watched her brush a milk smear from the corner of her mouth with her tongue. It was an innocent gesture, and the look in his face widened into something fond. He wasn't going to push further. There was still plenty of time. He put down the empty cup, drank his own, then chuckled and rose. "Good night, Roroje. I won't disturb you. Sweet dreams." A flash of silver and he was gone, reappearing in his own room. Hanroro watched him leave, then touched her mouth, waves of unfamiliar emotion washing through her. She buried her face in the pillow and rolled around a few times, ignoring how silly she looked, before finally stilling. The bed still seemed charged with his clear aura. She hugged the quilt with her legs, cheeks flushed as if tipsy, and muttered, half-heartedly indignant, "What a bad man. He starts picking on his senior now that he has a little power. Humph. Next time you dare, just see what I'll do." She lay with her hair tousled, staring up at the canopy, her lips unconsciously curving into a smile. Tonight, sleep would not come easily. Tuesday routine. Please continue reading support with monthly votes, rewards, recommendation tickets. Chapter 49, Suppressing Mashaotao. Please read it again on Tuesday. Another busy day had passed. Shu Yan left the Dohun district alone, watching the evening sun sink toward the horizon. After stretching, he headed for the dining hall. Hanroro and Wu Ming had been tied up with temporary tasks, so he was the only one of the trio free, though he didn't mind. He had spent the entire afternoon brawling in the Dohun district with Gufan and the others. Even Ling Luochen, the rarely seen element of ice, had joined in. During the fight, she'd struck at Shu Yan several times. He couldn't help wondering if he had somehow offended her. Thinking it over, they'd only met once before. Her hostility was a mystery, but Shu Yan didn't care. Ling Luochen was only a spirit ancestor now, not even high on his list of serious opponents. He fought daily with spirit emperors and even higher-level challengers from the inner courtyard. Spirit kings and spirit ancestors no longer fazed him. After eating, Shu Yan meandered along the narrow path by Sea God Lake. Today he turned and walked toward the far side of Sea God Island. The island was vast, its population sparse. Compared to the northern districts, the southern bank where he lived already felt crowded. The evening was warm and pleasant. Shu Yan walked without a destination, noticing only that the further he went, the more secluded and untamed the landscape became. No houses, no other paths, just nature. Then a commotion up ahead snapped his attention to the road. His perception was sharp. In an instant, he detected fighting. A silver afterimage flickered over him, and he vanished from his spot, moving toward the disturbance. "Ah, my butt!" Before Shu Yan reached them, he heard a shrill cry and the crackle of ice. A faint ripple spread beneath his feet, and he paused, hovering on the last edge of the path, watching the scene unfold. Imagine a grown woman running around clutching a burning backside. Shu Yan had never seen anything so absurd. One of the combatants, a long-haired woman wielding an ice crystal staff and constantly summoning crystalline thorns, was none other than Ling Luochen, the same Ling Luochen Shu Yan had kicked out of that brawl earlier. The woman she was desperately trying to stop was unmistakable too. Ma Xiaotao, hair a blaze of red, wings of a phoenix beating, was charging like a wildfire. 5 perfectly matched spirit rings shimmered around her. With a piercing phoenix cry, her second and third rings flared at once. Her eyes went blood red, and the flames that cloaked her darkened to an almost spatial heat. Shu Yan couldn't help a dry, exasperated thought. I wondered where this loud, hot-headed woman had been. So she'd been confined here. He also noticed a residual spirit signature on Ma Xiaotao's body, an aura he recognized as belonging to the bright phoenix Douluo, Yan Xiaozhe. Still, Shu Yan didn't hesitate. His first spirit ring activated first. A soft silver light shot from his hand and struck Ma Xiaotao squarely between the brows. She, who had been rushing at him at full speed, froze the instant the light hit. Before she could recover, chains condensed from spatial power poured out of the void realm and wrapped around her from all sides, binding her like a tightly wrapped bundle. The flames on her body continued to blaze, but they could not sever those slender-looking links. Shu Yan activated his first spirit ability once more. Ma Xiaotao gave a piercing shriek, lost her balance in midair, and crashed into a tangle of plants. Everything happened in a heartbeat. Ling Luochen, still clutching her ice crystal staff, and Shu Sanqi, holding his scalded backside with a battered turtle shell, stared at Shu Yan in stunned silence. It took a moment for Shu Sanqi to register what had happened. The cool breeze that followed reminded him of the heat on his rear, and he finally blurted out the only thing that fit his shock. Holy crap! It was the only way to sum up the scene. Subduing peak Spirit King Ma Xiaotao in full evil fire eruption in less than 30 seconds, what kind of inner courtyard senior was Shu Yan? Spirit Saint? Spirit Douluo? A titled Douluo? Shu Sanqi ran through possibilities frantically. He knew Ma Xiaotao's power well. Once her evil fire flared, she could easily match an advanced Spirit Emperor. Even some inner courtyard instructors kept their distance. If she broke through to Spirit Emperor and then let her evil fire explode again, even an ordinary Spirit Saint might be hard-pressed. Ling Luochen's lower lip trembled. Holding the ice staff, she finally understood the gulf between them. Seeing Shu Yan move made it painfully clear. Shu Yan landed lightly near the bound Ma Xiaotao, drew on the spatial chain, and hauled her out of the tangled undergrowth to the edge of Sea God Lake. Come, infuse some spirit power into her, or she'll stay unconscious for a while, he said quietly to Ling Luochen. She let the shimmer around her staff dissipate, then shivered. Without thinking, she stepped closer and poured a deep, cold blue spirit power into Ma Xiaotao. The red-haired woman, half-conscious, frowned as the frigid energy entered her. The frown slowly softened. Her face was deathly pale, but still breathtaking. For a moment, they all watched in uneasy silence. Then, with a splash, Ma Xiaotao slipped from Shu Yan's hands and sank beneath the surface of the lake. Ling Luochen and Shu Sanqi, who had moved to the side, were stunned by the sudden plunge. For some reason, an inexplicable flicker of fear stirred in both their hearts when they looked at the empty water and then back at the composed Shu Yan. The cold lake water shocked Ma Xiaotao awake. Water filled her nose and lungs. She gasped and flailed with a blank, disoriented look, as if someone had rudely woken her from a deep sleep. Before she could fully recover, the silver chains tightened and hauled her out of the water. Cough, cough. Coughing and sputtering, Ma Xiaotao finally drew breath. She looked utterly disheveled, her fiery hair plastered to her face, her crimson dress clinging to her curves, bits of lake plants clinging to her head. Even in her bedraggled state, she remained startlingly beautiful. Her blood-red eyes were clouded with confusion. When she glanced at Shu Yan, the look had not a trace of fury, only a dazed bewilderment, like someone torn abruptly from sleep. Chapter 50. Ling Luochen's Stir. Tuesday, please keep reading. Are you awake? Shu Yan gently tapped Ma Xiaotao's cheek and waited. Ma Xiaotao stared blankly at him, saying nothing. Shu Yan sighed and loosened his grip. The spatial chains binding her slackened, and she slumped back into Sea God Lake. A stream of bubbles rose up, but a moment later, Shu Yan hauled her out again and tried once more. Are you awake this time? With repeated stimulation, Ma Xiaotao's thoughts finally returned enough for her eyes to regain some life. She spat out a mouthful of lake water, looked at Shu Yan, and after a long silence, gave a hesitant nod. Good. That's a good child. Shu Yan nodded in satisfaction and released the spatial chains. All right, that's enough for today. It's getting late. Everyone go home and rest early." He clapped once to draw everyone's attention back, then turned and headed off without another word. Ma Xiaotao was still dazed, but Shu Yan knew that once her evil fire was suppressed, her mind would clear. It didn't matter if she later remembered what he'd done and got angry out of embarrassment. He'd already promised Han Ruoro he'd give her a massage tonight. He had no time to fuss over Ma Xiaotao, a stranger. After he left, Ling Luochen glanced at Ma Xiaotao, soaked, tangled in lake plants, and then fell into step behind Shu Yan without a word. Shu Sanqi stood frozen, clutching his turtle shell, torn between staying and leaving. Finally, he timidly poked Ma Xiaotao's arm. "Sister Xiaotao, do you think I can go now?" Ma Xiaotao turned her gaze to him. One look almost made Shu Sanqi cry. After everything she'd put him through, his fear of her had reached a peak. "Get lost," she snapped. "Don't you dare tell anyone what happened tonight, or I'll rip that shell off you myself." No sooner had she spoken than her body flared with raging fire again. Her wet clothes and hair dried in an instant. She spread phoenix-like wings and swept away. As she left, Shu Sanqi sagged with relief and stared at his scorched face reflected in the shimmering lake. For the first time in his life, he felt grateful simply to be alive. On the path, Shu Yan glanced up at the sky, then paused when he sensed someone behind him. He looked back to see Ling Luochen walking after him. "Aren't you going back to your dorm?" "It's late," he said casually. Ling Luochen hesitated, then answered, "My dorm is just ahead. Also, thank you for earlier." Shu Yan grinned and shook his head. "Why were you on the north bank of Sea God Lake? You ran into Ma Xiaotao just as her evil fire erupted. Even when she was unconscious, she seemed hostile toward you." Ling's face showed no outward change, but indignation flared in her voice. "The inner courtyard's ice attribute mimic training ground is north of the lake. I come that way often. I hadn't intended to get involved. I even tried to hide, but Shu Sanqi started shouting when he saw me, and that alerted Ma Xiaotao. The ice spirit power in my body stimulated her evil fire, and it went completely out of control. Then, she attacked me." It was obvious Shu Sanqi's behavior had angered her. Ling Luochen, usually so reserved, rattled off a rare, long explanation. She wasn't heartless. Everyone knew how terrifying Ma Xiaotao was when her evil fire ran wild. With Ma Xiaotao a realm above her, Ling had no obligation to intervene. Any attempt to help might only make her the target of Ma Xiaotao's wrath. Shu Yan clicked his tongue. "Be careful in future. Honestly, if her spiritual sea hadn't been so weakened while her evil fire was out of control, I would have had to work harder to subdue her." Ling gave him a long look. After a moment, she asked softly, "Do you think I'm like those people, that I wouldn't help a classmate and would only look out for myself?" "No." Shu Yan shook his head firmly. He met her eyes. "I think you're very pragmatic. You understand your limits. You know what you can and can't handle. Just like you know you wouldn't be a match for me, so you never challenge me unnecessarily. Compared to others, at least you don't get beaten up for nothing." Ling Luochen was taken aback. After a long pause, she murmured, "You're right." Under the amber streetlights, her fair skin took on a cool, jade-like sheen. The calves revealed beneath her black, knee-length dress were pale and graceful, the lines clean and elegant. "Get some rest. I have things to handle, so I won't keep you," Shu Yan said, then strode off without hesitation. Ling watched his figure recede into the dark and then turned toward a narrow path. Soon the lights of an unremarkable wooden house flicked on, pushing back a small pocket of darkness, though it could never brighten the whole forest. Meanwhile, Ma Xiaotao sat alone in a cramped secret room, hair disheveled and expression hollow, curled up in a corner. The memory of her evil fire running amok left her shaken. Such an outburst was not only a torment to a spirit master's body, it was a profound, corrosive assault on the mind. The surrounding space brightened, and a gentle, reproachful voice sounded. "Xiaotao, why didn't you tell me you couldn't suppress your evil fire? Do you understand that if it loses control completely, the consequences could be irreversible? Then it will be too late to regret it." Ma Xiaotao slowly lifted her head. Yan Xiaojie, her teacher, looked at her with quiet disappointment. She diverted her gaze and finally whispered, "Teacher, I thought I could control it. Really?" Yan Xiaojie sighed, searching for words. He had warned her countless times over the years. She had never learned. Tonight had been lucky. Shu Yan, wandering by, had intervened. But what if the attacker had been another spirit ancestor? In a few exchanges, they could have been badly hurt or killed by an out-of-control Ma Xiaotao. If it had been an outer courtyard student who died, the academy could bear it. But if an inner courtyard student had died, even the dean intervening personally might not smooth things over. Mishandled, it could create a powerful enemy for Shrek Academy, a problem far bigger than a single death. Chapter 51, Shrek-style pie in the sky and theorists. After a long silence, Yan Xiaojie looked at Ma Xiaotao again and spoke in a deep voice. The longer it's suppressed, the stronger the backlash will be. From now on, Xiaotao, you must delay your cultivation. The evil fire in you is too dangerous. If it erupts again, your body and potential will suffer severe damage. I don't want to ruin you for the sake of the Academy or the Spirit Master Tournament. You should be feeling it yourself. Your mental endurance is nearly at its limit. If you try to break through to Spirit Emperor now, I'm afraid the evil fire will retaliate in a big way. Even with my help, it's hard to say whether you could endure it. Ma Xiaotao fell quiet. After a long moment, she answered softly, Grandmaster, I understand. Seeing her dejected, pained expression, a flash of pity crossed Yan Xiaojie's face. She had been his personal disciple, the child he'd watched grow up. His feelings ran deeper than most could imagine. After a moment's thought, he added, Give me some time. I'll think of more solutions. At the very least, before the Spirit Master Tournament, I'll make sure you break through to Spirit Emperor and claim your 6th Spirit Ring. Hearing that, a faint light returned to Ma Xiaotao's eyes. Then she seemed to realize something and looked up at Yan Xiaojie again. Grandmaster, was that young man just now Shu Yan? Yan Xiaojie glanced at her and nodded. Yes, his grandfather was my senior and one of the old Shrek 7 devils. Honestly, his talent outstrips yours, Xiaotao. Even Elder Xuan said that boy would at least reach his level eventually. He's basically become the new #1 genius of the inner courtyard. Ma Xiaotao fell silent once more. She wanted to argue, but thinking it through, remembering how powerless she'd been against Shu Yan and how composed he had been the whole time, she had to admit the truth. Shock and indignation mingled in her chest. Grandmaster, there's one thing I don't understand. How did he suppress the evil fire in my body? Yan Xiaojie tapped her forehead with an exasperated sigh. It's simple. He has an incredibly pure killing intent in his aura. Killing intent is cold. He also injected a trace of spatial power into you. The two together temporarily constrained the evil fire. Combine that with the faint, extreme cold spirit power Ling Luochen put in you, and I estimate it can hold the evil fire at bay for about 3 days. Ma Xiaotao nodded, thinking it over. Then she looked up with firm resolve. Grandmaster, then I want to go into seclusion and try to break through to Spirit Emperor within those 3 days. Please allow me. Xiaotao, what did you just promise me? You've only been allowed a moment to decide, Yan Xiao said with mock exasperation. Ma Xiaotao had always been like this. She'd agree to limits and then ignore them the moment her mind changed. If he hadn't been used to her, he might have scolded her good and proper. He took a breath, then, with a helpless wave of his hand, relented. Fine. Go. I know you won't listen if I forbid it. Focus on finding the breakthrough opportunity. I'll be right beside you to guard you. But remember one thing. You only have 3 days. Once that period is over, even if you haven't broken through, you must stop cultivating immediately. That's my single request. Can you do it? Ma Xiaotao's expression hardened. She nodded. Grandmaster, I promise. Yan Xiaojie sighed again, waved his hand, and the matter was left there. The weather had been unpredictable lately, sometimes sun, sometimes drizzle, which had outer courtyard students grumbling constantly. Their conditions were never as good as those inside the inner courtyard, and the fickle weather only made things worse. Han Ruoruo and Wu Ming finally found a free afternoon, and with a heavy rain pounding outside, the three of them decided to cook hot pot together. Outside, the rain fell like a curtain. Inside, the room was warm and cozy, full of laughter. As they chatted, Wu Ming brought up the recent assignment she and Ruoruo had been given. Lately, Ruoruo and I have been slammed. The academy, what are they thinking? They want inner courtyard students to assist an outer courtyard grandmaster with spirit research. Don't they know our time is valuable? If it's spirit research, they could at least pick advanced students from the outer courtyard. Han Roro picked up a tender slice of beef for Shu Yan, glanced at Wu Ming, and laughed softly. Minger, you spend most of your time lazing around. What's so exhausting about this? It's a small task, and we even get some compensation. Wu Ming rolled her eyes. The compensation is only enough to placate the outer courtyard students. Offering it to us is a bit of an insult. The proud treat the proud, and geniuses expect a certain treatment. Wu Ming was scornful of Shrek Academy's ways, promises that sounded grand, but in practice were like drawing cakes, empty talk. When you pressed for real fulfillment, there were always excuses. Wasn't Huo Yu Hao in the original the same? The promised 100,000-year spirit ring and spirit bone never really came through. He had to get everything by himself. The Academy contributed nothing and had likely already forgotten about it long ago. Shu Yan's movements stilled for a moment as he listened, expression unrateable, then asked softly, "Are outer courtyard grandmasters actually allowed to have inner courtyard students as assistants?" Han Ruoro sighed and explained, "His name is Wang Yan. He's an advanced teacher and one of the Academy's notable theorists. Technically, he can teach inner courtyard students, but his cultivation talent is ordinary. He only excels in theoretical research. Still, his background must be solid for the Academy to assign inner courtyard students to help him." Shu Yan tapped the table lightly with his fingertips, face calm. Wu Ming continued, blunt and unrestrained. "I'll say what everyone thinks but won't say aloud," she snorted. "A lot of these so-called theoretical scholars are just people who couldn't push their cultivation further, so they turned to fantasies. Take that Grandmaster Yu Xiaogang from 10,000 years ago. Exactly that type. Wang Yan is better than Yu Xiaogang, sure, but his view is limited by his realm. He'll never grasp the true mysteries of the spirit itself. Those insights only come after a spirit master breaks through to titled Douluo, or even super Douluo. The stuff he's researching is basically meaningless to true advanced spirit masters." Harsh? Maybe, but true. Han Roro dabbed the corner of Shu Yan's mouth with a tissue and chuckled. "All right, Minger, since the Academy ordered it, we'll do it. It won't take long, and refusing would get us disciplined. We're still students, after all." "As for theoretical research," she added, then quoted a senior, "a theoretical expert may not necessarily be a true master, but a true master must also be a theoretical expert. Laws matter. Realm is supreme." Shu Yan met Han Roro's gentle gaze. They exchanged a look and smiled, understanding each other perfectly, while Wu Ming remained the outside observer, utterly and unapologetically the third wheel. Chapter 52. Parents Arrive. A treacherous idea unconsciously. More than half of Shu Yan's first year at Shrek Academy's inner court had already passed. His spirit power had climbed to the 49th rank, only one step shy of Spirit King. News from home had been equally encouraging. Shu Junyo and the others, who had gone to sea to hunt the swallowing sea whale emperor, had returned safely. With the assistance of a 97th-ranked Tianyang Douluo, the expedition had been unlikely to meet disaster. Shu Junyo had even absorbed a 100,000-year ninth spirit ring, leaping his own spirit power to the 92nd rank and getting off to an excellent start in the titled Douluo domain. Shu Yan was pleased. The stronger his family became, the more confident he felt when he left the academy. But he also knew that with those benefits came responsibility. Being a core figure in a top family meant that his personal strength reflected on his whole household. That could be a blessing, but it could be a burden too. A few days after the letters arrived, Lingdo City sent another surprise. His parents were coming. He told Han Roro and prepared to meet them. The inner court's rules didn't allow outsiders to enter freely, but Shu Junyo's status was an exception. He was once an inner court student and one of the Shrek 7 devils of his generation. Even though he had graduated and taken over the family, he could still enter at will. As his wife, Yu Bingyan naturally wouldn't be stopped either, and Yan Xiaozhi personally came out to greet her, a rare honor. The seniors had matters to attend to, so juniors like Shu Yan had to wait. Not long after, Yu Bingyan walked out alone and stopped before Shu Yan. They hadn't seen each other in over half a year. Shu Yan noticed that he'd matured a little since she'd last seen him. She studied him with some emotion, then let her lips part and asked softly, How have you been these past 6 months at Shrek Academy? Shu Yan smiled and glanced at Han Roro nearby. With Ruo Jie looking after me, it would be hard not to be fine. Yu Bingyan's gaze flicked between them with obvious interest. She waved a hand. Han Roro, catching the signal, obediently walked over. Long time no see, Auntie. Han Roro greeted shyly, a flicker of nervous admiration in her eyes. She was confident in her looks, but in front of Yu Bingyan, a martial soul of the angel class, anyone felt small. Yu Bingyan's beauty was more than pretty. It was noble and forbidding, an almost sacred presence. Han Roro had seen Jiang Nanan, said to be the most beautiful woman in the outer court, but Yu Bingyan's beauty surpassed even that. Where Jiang Nanan was gentle and alluring, Yu Bingyan felt untouchable. You returned to Lingdo City a few years ago, and I didn't get to speak to you properly then. This time, I have the chance, Yu Bingyan said, smiling slightly. Han Roro seemed to guess what she meant and simply nodded. Let's take a walk, Yu Bingyan continued. Junyu still has things to discuss with Mianxia. There's a path by Sea God Lake I'd like to show you. The scenery here is better than Lingdo City. They followed her along the familiar path. Yu Bingyan looked around at the buildings and the lake, then, almost casually asked, How far have you two gone? The question hit them both with the force of a thrown stone. Shu Yan was the first to recover, voice half exasperated, half embarrassed. Mom, isn't that a bit personal? Yu Bingyan glanced at him and chuckled. I was only asking. We seniors won't interfere in everything. But remember this one thing well. Don't have children too early. Right now, cultivation is your priority. Yuejie and I aren't ready for grandchildren yet. Young people, Ruo is at an enthusiastic age. Some things are unavoidable. You can do what you want within reason, but keep a sense of proportion. Understand? The air seemed to freeze. Han Roro flushed so hard she might have run away. Shu Yan tried to wave it off. Mom, please don't lecture us like that. Besides, Ruo Jie and I aren't at that stage. Yu Bingyan snorted softly. It'll come in time. A few years from now, you both come back to Lingdo, and our families will arrange the engagement. After you graduate from the inner court, we'll hold the wedding. That's when you can slowly take part in family affairs. Once our two families form a strong alliance, honestly, even the emperor's position wouldn't be out of reach. What do you mean? Shu Yan frowned. Yu Bingyan's next words were spoken calmly, but carried a weight that made him and Han Roro listen without interrupting. The current emperor's sons are incompetent. Letting them continue will only hasten the empire's decline. Dueling needs a powerful, decisive emperor. Even if you don't want the throne immediately, your father is fit for it. If he takes charge, you'll be the natural heir. After the domestic situation stabilizes, that position could belong to you. Shu Yan tried to steer the conversation back down. Mom, let's not jump into that. It's too soon to talk about matters of imperial succession. Yu Bingyan's smile deepened. She looked him straight in the eyes. You've thought about it too. Shu Yan blinked, speechless. Thought about what? What are you two plotting? Why the sudden ambition? Could it be you've been dreaming about the throne? He rubbed his temples, unsure whether to be angry or embarrassed. Yu Bingyan reached out and gave him a sharp tap on the head. Don't wander off in your thoughts. This won't be settled in a few words. We'll discuss everything when your father arrives. She changed the subject with practiced ease. Come on, walk with me. Tell me about how you've been lately. Relieved and flustered, Shu Yan and Han Roro exchanged a glance and followed Yu Bingyan toward the Sea God Lake, leaving the conversation's heavier implications behind for another day. Chapter 53, The 10,000-Year Devouring Sea Whale, Emperor's Left Leg Bone and Recognition. After walking around Sea God Lake with Yu Bingyan for a while, Shu Jinyo finally finished his talk with Yan Xiaojie and rejoined the others. The family reunion produced the usual flurry of conversation. Shu Yan and Han Roro led the way back, and soon the four of them were at Shu Yan's dormitory. Yu Bingyan laughed as she looked over the cozy decorations and teased, So after half a year, our Yan has developed a little girl's taste. Shu Yan just shrugged. Yu Bingyan was like that, blunt, fiery, and fond of teasing those she cared about. Shu Junyu listened silently. His calm, steady demeanor hid a past as unpredictable as anyone's. Who would have guessed he'd once been a hot-blooded youth, famous in the inner courtyard as the Dragon Lunatic? After a short while, Yu Bingyan took Hanroro into the next room. The father and son chatted about small things for a moment before Shu Junyu steered the talk to the real reason for their visit. "We came to Shrek City on a whim," he said, "partly to revisit old places and friends, but mostly to bring you this spirit bone so you can break through to level 50 as soon as possible." From his storage spirit tool, he produced a dark jade box and set it before Shu Yan. The box gave off an unusual aura that slipped into Shu Yan's senses. He'd guessed what it was, and his hands betrayed a slight quickening. When the box opened, a blue-black light spilled out and filled the room. The light flowed like water and slowly spread in ripples. Shu Yan felt the light devour the surrounding spatial energy. Even his mental force was partially absorbed as soon as it touched the glow. 10,000-year spirit bone? His voice wavered despite himself. Shu Junyu nodded, eyes fixed on the object inside the box. A left leg bone that looked like blue-black crystal. "The 10,000-year devouring sea whale emperor left leg bone," he said softly. "You know its background. I absorbed one of its left leg bones long ago. This spirit bone is exceptional. I can almost certainly say it carries the devouring sea whale emperor's strongest innate spirit ability, heaven devouring, earth swallowing. As the name implies, it's a devouring ability. It can almost completely absorb energy-based attacks, convert that energy, and store it for the user. If you use it well, the stored energy can be released again as your own spirit attack. There's a lot to it, and I won't go through every detail now. In short, it's powerful and very useful. You'll understand more as you absorb it." Surprise flickered in Shu Yan's eyes. He closed the jade box gently and looked at his father. "Thank you, Dad." Shu Junyu waved his hand and smiled. "No need for thanks. Keep it safe and be cautious when you absorb it. There's a trace of the Whale Emperor's lingering will in it, but it won't threaten you. Just be attentive." Shu Yan nodded, and father and son fell quiet again. Next door, the mood was livelier. Wu Ming happened to be home, and upon learning Shu Yan's parents were in town, hadn't missed the chance to visit Han Ruoro and Yu Bingyan too. The three women chatted and laughed, the atmosphere warm. Yu Bingyan listened as Wu Ming recounted stories of Shu Yan in the inner courtyard and, on rare occasions, softened into a gentle smile. As a mother, she might have been unconventional, but her love for Shu Yan was straightforward and real. After a while, Wu Ming excused herself politely and left the two alone. Yu Bingyan hesitated a moment, then spoke. "Ruoro, I want to thank you for taking care of a Yan all these years. I haven't been the best mother, but you've been a true big sister. I hope you'll be a wonderful partner to him someday. He's lucky to have met you." Han Ruoro's lips trembled slightly. "Auntie, it's my luck too to have met a Yan," she said softly. Yu Bingyan patted her cheek fondly and chuckled. "You're not foolish about feelings. You know what you want and don't waste yourself on one-sided attachments. Emotions need reciprocation. I've seen too many people throw themselves away for nothing, then parade their wounds as if that proves something noble. That's senseless and irresponsible." She reached into her storage spirit tool and took out a finely carved white jade box, placing it in Han Ruoro's hands. "From the Shu family, for our future daughter-in-law. Keep it safe. It will help you in cultivation." Han Ruoro held the smooth jade box, speechless for a moment. Yu Bingyan stood up with a smile and added, "Go join Ayan and the others now. Father and son should finish their talk. We won't be in Shrek City long this trip. There are other matters to attend to. For now, settling your two issues is the most important thing." Chapter 54, The Declining Empire and Relics of an Old Friend. Night fell. Shu Yan and Han Ruoro flew back to the inner courtyard from Shrek City together. Yu Bingyan and Shu Junyu weren't staying overnight. They'd been sightseeing in the city and had arranged accommodations at one of Shrek City's most famous grand hotels, an establishment that usually hosted nobles and the extremely powerful. Its luxury left even Shu Yan, who came from a noble family, astonished. Their idea of indulgence simply hadn't kept up. Back at home, Shu Yan and Han Ruoro collapsed onto the sofa. Traveling alone was one thing. Escorting parents and elders had worn them out. They exchanged tired, relieved looks. After a short rest, Han Ruoro propped her chin on her hand and asked softly, Ayan, what did Uncle talk to you about today? You seemed distracted all afternoon. Shu Yan rubbed his temples, smiled wryly, and replied, What else? The sensitive stuff. Ruoro, you know that if our two families unite, there will be almost no force left in the Empire's military, politics, or commerce that could stand against us. The decline of the dueling imperial family is inevitable. My grandfather, grandmother, and uncle all see that. Honestly, even if dueling survives the Sun Moon Empire's invasion, it's rotting from the inside. Corruption and decay will do the rest. It's only a matter of time. Han Ruoro fell silent for a moment, then said, That's true. High officials are beyond salvage. Many princes and some dukes are unfit for their positions. Compared to them, Ayan, you carry imperial blood. When the time comes, even if you're forced into power, the world will have no grounds to complain. Shu Yan wasn't particularly interested in talking politics that night. He shifted the subject. My father gave me a 10,000-year devouring sea whale emperor left leg bone. Your gift from my mother should be a spirit bone as well. Have you checked its age and origin yet? Hanroro started at the question, then remembered she hadn't had the chance. I haven't opened Yu Bingyan's jade box yet. I was too nervous and then too busy. Open it now, Shu Yan prodded with a teasing tone. My parents don't skimp on things like this. Maybe what they gave you is a 10,000-year spirit bone, too. Hanruoro rolled her eyes and scoffed. Do you think 10,000-year spirit bones grow by the roadside? Our dueling has existed for thousands of years, but the number of titled Douluo who've possessed a 10,000-year spirit ring is fewer than 5. Passed down 10,000-year spirit bones are unheard of. For you to have one at your level is probably unprecedented. Still, she took out the jade box. It was no ordinary trinket. As she opened it, a metallic killing aura rushed forth. They realized the warm, delicate jade was actually a storage spirit tool, designed to suppress the bone's deadly aura. When the box finally opened, a right arm bone bathed in golden light rose slowly. A long, piercing cry seemed to tear through the night. Even the faint soul-guiding lights in the room flickered twice and then went out. What terrifying aura, Hanroro murmured, astonished. Shu Yan frowned slightly as he watched the spirit bone. After a moment, he said quietly, I think I know where this came from. Ruoro, do you remember Senior Jinyan? Hanroro froze, then looked at the bone with wide eyes. Ayan, you mean this bone belonged to Senior Jinyan? Jinyan Douluo had been the dueling imperial family's foremost enshrinement, a 95th level super Douluo whose spirit was the top-tier golden flame divine eagle. He and Tianyang Douluo had been the twin stars of their era. A few years ago, Jinyan Douluo died of natural lifespan exhaustion. He had no descendants, so the spirit bone left after his death was taken into the dueling imperial treasury. This bone came from the spirit beast that had provided Jinyan his 9th spirit ring, a golden flame divine eagle of over 90,000 years. It was of the same race as Jinyan's spirit and exceptionally powerful. Jinyan had been well respected and connected across the continent. Shu Yan and Han Roro had both received his guidance at times, so they felt some affection for him. After Grandpa Jinyan died, Han Roro continued softly, the enshrinement hall lost its pillar. The strongest remaining enshrinement in the imperial family is only at the 93rd level, and his lifespan is nearly gone. They can't compare to the other 3 empires now. No one wished to see their homeland weaken. Despite reforms, dueling's national strength lagged painfully behind the other great empires. If Tianyang Douluo were to fall today, dueling would be left with only Shu Hong as a super Douluo. Its influence in the Spirit Master world would plummet, and the empire's internal stability would be gravely threatened. Shu Yan gently used spirit power to press the golden arm bone back into the jade box and close the lid. Once the light dimmed, the room fell dark. He sent a faint trace of spirit power to the switch for the soul-guiding lights. A moment later, the lamps came back on. Don't brood, Ruo, he said, putting an arm around her shoulders. Though Senior Jinyan is gone, we're still young. Dueling will grow stronger again, under our hands. Han Ruoro leaned into him without resistance, her face shaded with melancholy. The gift meant little joy when it reminded her of Jinyan's passing and the empire's decline. She rubbed her cheek against Shu Yan's chest and after a while looked up and whispered, Ayan, don't go back tonight. Stay here with me, okay? Shu Yan stroked her hair and replied warmly, "All right, I won't go tonight. We've been busy all day. Rest well. Tomorrow will be better." Han Roro buried her face in his chest and hummed softly before falling silent. Watching her, Shu Yan's thoughts quieted. He tightened his arm around her waist and slowly closed his eyes. Chapter 55, Author's Note on Listing. It will be listed tomorrow at 12 p.m. When it goes live, there will be at least 5 chapters available, totaling 10,000 characters. Please subscribe to the first chapter. I sincerely thank you. Chapter 56, Breaking Through to Spirit King, A Bright Sky Over the Inner Courtyard. Please subscribe. For the past 2 days, Shu Yan had kept to himself. Absorbing the 10,000-year devouring sea whale emperor's left leg bone required his full attention, so he chose seclusion. It was also the perfect chance to shatter the last barrier and surge into the Spirit King realm in one leap. A 10,000-year spirit bone amplified a cultivator's body tremendously, but the lingering resentment of a spirit beast of that age was a serious danger. Shu Yan spent considerable effort suppressing and purifying that resentment. At the same time, his spirit power made a decisive advance and directly reached the Spirit King level. He emerged from seclusion, and within a day, the big-mouth Wu Ming had already spread the news of his breakthrough. The inner courtyard erupted. Ever since Shu Yan had jumped straight into the inner courtyard not long ago, skipping the outer courtyard, he'd been the undisputed #1 among the new generation. In just over half a year, he'd pulled off one miracle after another, each more astonishing than the last. His name dominated student gossip in both inner and outer courtyards. Even his past with Han Ruoro had been dug up by some talented. Students and fans had begun shipping them as a model couple for Shrek. Rumors swirled. Some said Han Ruoro might return to Lingdo City to bear his child. The more preposterous the gossip, the more it made Shu Yan want to hide his face. And now, Shu Yan, not yet 12, had broken through to Spirit King. It left countless people stunned, especially the first-year outer courtyard students. They stared up at the sky, feeling the world had dimmed. At 12, others were still caught up in crushes and honors. They were running laps, attending endless classes, worrying about freshman assessments and the threat of elimination. How could anyone compare? They couldn't. Many of them roared inwardly, heavy shadows of inadequacy pressing down from the name of Shu Yan. Right now, the famous prodigy was sitting on a sofa with a helpless look, watching Wu Ming apologize sheepishly. Han Ruo sat beside them, pinching the bridge of her nose with a rueful expression. "Ming'er, Ayan only broke through to Spirit King less than 2 days ago, and you've already spread it all over the academy," Han Roro said. "I'm curious, how did you manage that so fast?" Wu Ming sat properly and adopted an injured expression before answering in a small voice. "Roro ji, I didn't do it on purpose. My cousin is a 3rd year in the outer courtyard. She asked me about Shu Yan, and I just blurted it out. Who knew that girl has an even bigger mouth than me? By that evening, the news had already spread through the outer courtyard." "You?" Han Roro sighed softly, then let it go. "It's fine. Even if you hadn't said anything, Ayan's breakthrough would have become known sooner or later." She turned to Shu Yan. "Ayan, what about your uncle and aunt? What are they planning?" Shu Yan paused, then explained, "They're preparing to take me to the Stardew Grand Forest to hunt spirit beasts and get my 5th spirit ring. But they have some things to deal with first. I haven't been able to reach them these past 2 days." Han Roro nodded. "It's best if they can take you hunting. The 10,000-year thorned dragon ring you absorbed for your 4th ring has energy comparable to an ordinary 30,000-year ring. Now that you've reached Spirit King, your 5th ring will need to be at least 50,000 years. Lishuan and the others haven't had time lately. If your uncle and aunt can handle it, it saves us the trouble of assembling a team." Wu Ming's jaw dropped when she heard Shu Yan's 5th ring would likely be 50,000 years. She sighed with a mix of envy and admiration. "I can't deny it. Your physique and spirit power are enviable. I had to struggle a long time to secure a 50,000-year ring for my 7th. You, kid, are getting what I could only hope for at 7th, for your 5th. Shu Yan gave a soft laugh. "Senior sister, you're talented too. With your constitution, Your 8th ring should be at least 70,000 years, and your 9th could probably take a 10,000-year ring. With your genius, if you add a 10,000-year ring, you'll definitely become a super Douluo, maybe even reach Grandmaster Xuan's level. Wu Ming rolled her eyes at him, but couldn't hide the shadow that passed over her face. I won't even dare think about a 10,000-year ring, she said quietly. I'm realistic. My family isn't strong enough, and it's unlikely the Academy will organize a hunt for a 10,000-year spirit beast on my behalf. Look, senior sister got her 10,000-year ring by pure chance. In the whole inner courtyard, the only ones who might get a 10,000-year ring through the Academy in the future are probably you and Ma Xiao Tao. No one else has that kind of backing. Even as Wu Ming tried to keep her voice steady, the dejection showed. A 10,000-year spirit ring was a career-changing treasure. A single one could raise a spirit master's ceiling immensely. A titled Douluo with such a ring would always outclass a same-level titled Douluo without it. Han Ruo understood that feeling well. All inner courtyard students were geniuses with powerful families behind them. They knew better than anyone how decisive a 10,000-year ring could be. But sometimes reality was harsh, and learning to accept that was part of growing into a powerful spirit master. Who knows what the future holds, Shu Yan said, smiling. Senior sister, don't be so pessimistic. There could still be a turning point. Wu Ming flopped back on the soft sofa and gave up with a theatrical sigh. Whatever, I've made peace with it. I'm going to find a man and live a good life. If something's meant to happen, it will. If not, then it won't. Why worry so much? Han Roro covered her mouth and laughed. That's right, Minger. Find someone soon. Staying single forever won't be good. People might even start thinking you prefer girls. Wu Ming jerked up and shook her head so violently, her words came out like a clatter. No way, no way. I'm not into those outer courtyard fashions. I want a proper boyfriend. Girls are out of the question. Han Roro's smile widened as she continued to tease. So you mean you wouldn't be mean to girls, right? Or do you actually have ideas like that? Wu Ming, a little slow on the uptake, didn't think of a retort for a long time. Eventually, she said flatly, as if delivering a verdict. Honestly, the reason I don't go for girls is simple. I don't think girls can satisfy me. Her words hung in the air, and the room fell into a long, stunned silence. Chapter 57, Three-Eyed Golden Lion and the Red King, First Order Request. Shu Yan had lost count of how many times he'd come to the Stardow Great Forest this year, hunting for spirit rings. What to others was a human forbidden zone now felt almost like home to him. Han Ruo's expression was calm. Shrek Academy practiced a wolf-style education. Teachers didn't normally accompany students on spirit beast hunts, so inner courtyard students usually paired off into hunting teams and went into the forest together. Just like the last time they hunted for Wu Ming's 7th spirit ring, Hua Yao and Gu Fan came willingly, and when a teammate needed spirit rings, everyone else was expected to help. This mutual aid sent them into the Stardow Great Forest several times a year. That said, inner courtyard students were Shrek Academy's treasures, so Academy instructors did shadow them for protection. And if that instructor happened to be the gluttony Douluo Xuanzi, well, you had to be extra careful on the trip. Wherever Xuanzi showed up, it was almost inevitable that someone would come back worse for wear. This time, they were led by a titled Douluo, so nerves weren't so tight. In general, they had 2 titled-level fighters for protection on a hunt. Yu Bingyan was only a 4-winged angel spirit Douluo at present, but angel martial souls themselves were exceptionally powerful. Every extra pair of wings marked another evolution, a 4-winged angel martial soul ranked among the most formidable. If Yu Bingyan later broke through to a titled Douluo, her spirit might evolve into a seraphim, an angelic form with 3 pairs of wings, an aerial force that could rival a body spirit. Here, seraphim meant an angel martial soul with 3 pairs of wings, not the mythic divine being. The area of the Stardew Great Forest facing Shrek Academy had the highest quality and density of spirit beasts in the whole forest, which was good for hunters. They cut quickly through the mixed zone and entered the outer edge of the core zone, the gathering ground of high-level spirit beasts, where weak ones were rare. They had limited time and strong protectors, so they didn't want to dawdle. Still, By noon the next day, they'd found nothing worth taking. The only giant palm black tiger remotely suitable for Shu Yan had a mere 40,000 years of cultivation, so Shu Junyu simply chased it off, and they pressed on. It wasn't until they advanced into the outer core area that things changed. A disturbance rippled through the distant trees, and the group tensed. Two pairs of pure white wings unfurled behind Yu Bingyan, and with a graceful beat, she shot into the air. All angel martial souls grant flight, and except for healing types like the healing angel, they excel at aerial combat. Legends called the Seraphim the top aerial martial soul, and angel martial souls, as its attendants, inherited that mastery. In the sky, Yu Bingyan found natural amplification. In that moment, she was even stronger than an ordinary titled Douluo. After a short scan, surprise crossed her face. Then she trailed down and landed beside the group. "It's a bright unicorn rhino," she reported. "About 60,000 years, but its behavior is odd, like it's avoiding something." As she spoke, the ground started trembling. The snap of breaking trunks echoed through the trees. Shu Junyo stepped forward, and 9 spirit rings, 1 yellow, 2 purple, 5 black, and 1 red, rose up at once. A massive black vortex slowly formed before him. A deep roar rolled out, and the forest ahead burst open as a huge white beast charged through, just as a colossal black dragon claw erupted from the vortex and slammed down. With one strike, the bright unicorn rhino was grievously wounded, thrown back into the path it had carved. Everyone's attention, though, was drawn away from the struggling rhino to a streak of golden light not far off. The light slowed, then halted beside the bright unicorn rhino and regarded the group. It was a strange spirit beast, its body cloaked in golden fur. Its overall shape was leonine, but its 4 paws were dragon claws, each standing on a ball of golden flame. Beneath the dense fur, a faint glow hinted at a layer of scales. Most startling of all, besides the usual 2 eyes, it had a third vertical pupil above them, a pupil that shone an eerie red and seemed to pull at one's soul with a single look. Dragon claws, golden flames, golden scales, a vertical pupil. Shu Junyu's face changed. He remembered passages from old texts. Combined with the bright unicorn rhino's behavior, he recognized the legendary imperial auspicious beast instantly. "This is the 3-eyed golden lion," he said, alarmed. He moved to shield the group and fell back a safe distance from the beast. Wherever an auspicious beast appeared, there were usually 100,000-year spirit beasts, or even vicious beasts, guarding it. Yu Bingyan stared a moment, then her expression grew grave. She stepped forward to stand shoulder to shoulder with Shu Junyo, while Han Roro and Wu Ming moved to protect Shu Yan in the center. "If it really is the 3-eyed golden lion," she began, her voice low, "this will be difficult." Shu Yan felt surprise and awe. The Stardow Great Forest was vast, its core zone almost boundless, so finding such a creature by chance was like stumbling upon a fortune. Before they could do more than stare, a fierce aura raced toward them. A massive spirit beast more than 5 meters long burst into view, lion-like and hulking, but with 3 identical heads, each head over a meter across, each revealing rows of blade-like teeth between breaths. 3-headed scarlet demon mastiff, the Red King! Yu Bingyan's expression tightened. She knew the species well. Her own 5th spirit ring had come from a scarlet demon mastiff cultivated for 15,000 years. A scorching heat slammed at them. The Red King's 3 heads fixed on the group with a cold, penetrating stare that made their skins chill. Then a deep, human-like voice rumbled from the beast. "Humans, leave the core zone. This is not a place for you." Chapter 58. Transaction. First Order Request. The Red King's tone was icy. As the 8th vicious beast on the continent, its cultivation had surpassed 300,000 years, roughly equivalent to a 96th rank Super Douluo among humans. Its combat strength sat near the top of that rank, capable of holding its own against a 97th rank Super Douluo for a time. Shu Junyo and Yu Bingyan exchanged looks and, almost without hesitation, prepared to leave with the others. But just as Shu Junyu's spirit power was about to fully envelop Shu Yan suddenly spoke. "Wait a moment." Their steps stopped. Every gaze swung to Shu Yan. The Red King and the 3-eyed golden lion looked at him as well, and Shu Yan felt as if a giant stone had been set upon his chest, the pressure so heavy the ground seemed to dip beneath him. "Red King, 3-eyed golden lion, how about a deal?" Shu Yan asked without changing his expression, though a faint light flashed deep in his eyes. The Red King's voice deepened, a crimson gleam kindling in its eyes. The aura of a vicious beast burst forth. Circles of visible chi waves rolled outward from its body, sending plants, soil, and stones flying in all directions. Shu Junyo tightened his hold on the anxious Yu Bingyan and gently shook his head to tell him not to act rashly. Han Ruoro and Wu Ming exchanged worried, confused looks, not understanding Shu Yan's sudden move. The Red King's threat remained unanswered. Instead, Shu Yan retrieved an object from his storage spirit tool, a faintly glowing thing that looked like whale jelly. The three-eyed golden lion, which had watched the group with a blend of curiosity and suspicion, suddenly brightened. Its four paws took a few involuntary steps toward Shu Yan before the Red King stopped it. Essence refined from an 80,000-year-old bright light dragon containing a trace of pure light dragon king bloodline, Shu Yan said. I think the auspicious beast will be very interested in this. The Emperor Auspicious Beast, the three-eyed golden lion, had no fate limitations, no heavenly tribulations like ordinary spirit beasts. It was born favored by fate, cultivating with ease and without the usual bottlenecks. It increased its cultivation by consuming the brain matter of light attribute spirit beasts. Because of its unique nature, even with only 15,000 years of cultivation, it could compete with 100,000-year-old spirit beasts. The essence from the bright light dragon was rich with pure light and fire energy, and coupled with a trace of light dragon king bloodline, was irresistibly valuable to the auspicious beast. If refined, it would raise the three-eyed golden lion's overall strength and give its cultivation a rapid boost for a stretch of time. Stopped by the Red King, the three-eyed golden lion forced itself back, but its golden eyes remained locked on the bright light dragon essence in Shu Yan's hand, desire plain to see. The Red King's expression softened slightly. The bright light dragon was an extinct, top-tier true dragon of light attribute. Essence refined from its original energy and bloodline was priceless to dragon-blooded spirit beasts, and doubly so for an auspicious beast. The auspicious beast's survival mattered too much to the Stardew Great Forest. If its life were threatened, the forest would be willing to sacrifice even several 100,000-year-old spirit beasts. As long as the auspicious beast existed, the Stardew Great Forest could continuously produce new 100,000-year-old spirit beasts. The Red King considered all this, but kept its expression steady and cold. Human, it said, if we kill you, this bright light dragon essence will still be ours. Why do you think you have the right to bargain with me? Shu Yan smiled faintly. Senior Red King, we're all clever here. Don't forget, we only have one titled Douluo with us, and this is only the outer edge of the core zone, not far from Shrek Academy. It's impossible for you to kill us quickly by yourself, and unless you're absolutely forced to, you wouldn't attack. We've come a long way for peace. If you assault us now, you'd be breaking the fragile balance between our races. I don't think you'd do that without necessity and confidence, would you? The Red King fell silent. After a moment, all three of its heads gave a low, identical bark of laughter before it spoke again. Human, you are clever. Tell me, what do you want? A slight curl touched Shu Yan's lips. It's simple. Find me a spirit beast suitable to be my 5th spirit ring. All right. The Red King agreed outright. It had observed Shu Yan's cultivation early on and been secretly startled. Shu Yan seemed too young, though he didn't look like an 11-year-old. There was a certain immaturity in his face and demeanor that suggested he couldn't be older than 15. A spirit king under 15 was a seed limit Douluo, someone any academy would cultivate carefully. How could such a prodigy come into the Stardew Great Forest to hunt a spirit ring accompanied only by one titled Douluo? Perhaps a superpower from Shrek Academy was watching nearby. That thought made the Red King cautious. From the start, its intention had been to intimidate and drive them out, not to attack. Tell this king what kind of spirit beast you want, and roughly how many tens of thousands of years old, the Red King asked, its aura relaxing. Shu Yan was blunt. A top-grade spirit beast, over 50,000 years old, preferably space attribute. If not, dark attribute will do. With that, he tossed the bright light dragon essence toward the Red King. The Red King's heart shook at the sight, But it did not hesitate. It snapped the arcing bright light dragon origin from the air, examined it carefully, then handed it to the eagerly watching three-eyed golden lion. After confirming its authenticity, the Red King looked back at Shu Yan and said slowly, "You give this to me so early. Aren't you afraid I'll go back on my word?" Shu Yan smiled. "To a certain extent, you spirit beasts are more trustworthy than humans. Senior Red King, what do you think of that?" The Red King was taken aback for a moment, then laughed aloud. "Human brat, I like that. Retreat to the outer edge of the mixed zone and wait. When I find a suitable spirit beast for you, I will come find you by tracking your aura." Chapter 59. The Transaction. First Order Request. The wind screamed past their ears as the scenery blurred away. When Yu Bingyan finally landed and caught her breath, her palm hit the back of Shu Yan's head with precision. Shu Yan's ear throbbed with the familiar sting as Yu Bingyan snapped, furious. "You little brat, getting bold enough to haggle with a vicious beast. Don't you realize how dangerous that was? If anything had gone wrong, we could all have been buried here today." Shu Yan gasped and rubbed his ear. "Mom, take it easy. If you squeeze any harder, my ear's going to fall off." Yu Bingyan held him at arm's length for a moment, still scowling, then loosened her grip and complained sourly, "You gave away something as good as the origin essence of the bright light dragon to a spirit beast. Why are you never this generous with your mother?" Two black lines flickered on Shu Yan's forehead. "Mom, come on. I've only been in Shrek City for less than a year, and I already bought you a 90,000-year holy light torso bone and a crimson spirit warm jade. Compared to that, the incomplete bright light dragon origin essence wasn't that big a deal. Its real value was the trace of light dragon king bloodline, very tempting to auspicious beasts, but it wouldn't help us much." He had bought that origin essence during a treasure appreciation event at the Treasure Gathering Pavilion for Inner Courtyard students. Shu Yan had been saving it for his mother, planning to scour the ice and fire yin-yang well when the time came. If nothing else, to evolve an ordinary angel martial soul into a holy angel, or even help Yu Bingyan incarnate into a true seraphim. He had never expected the item to be useful today, but it had clearly worked. Yu Bingyan seemed to recall the details. She coughed and her tone softened a little. "Still, don't be reckless. Don't do anything that rash again." "In the end, we were lucky," Shu Yan said. "An emperor auspicious beast actually appearing. I always thought it was just a legend." Shu Junyu didn't scold Shu Yan, but he kept watching the core circle with a troubled expression. After a long moment, he said, "The descent of an emperor auspicious beast is good news for the Star Do Great Forest, yes. But for humans, it's a double-edged sword." Han Ruoro and Wu Ming stayed quiet. As Inner Courtyard students, they had seen many powerful spirit beasts, but this was their first intimate encounter with a vicious beast. What they had read in books matched reality, awe mixed with fear. The Crimson King's fierce aura left a lasting impression. And this was only the Crimson King, ranked 8th among vicious beasts. The thought of the beast god, the golden-eyed black dragon king Ditian, ranked 1st, was chilling. Out of caution, they didn't linger for the Crimson King to reach the mixed zone's outer edge as it had suggested. Instead, they moved to the outer rim of the Star Do Great Forest. It was close to Shrek City. If anything went wrong, they could bolt out and be safe. Once they stopped, everyone unpacked dry rations and began to recover. They had been on the move for a day and a night without proper rest or resupply. Now they meditated and healed and ate until their stomachs were full. About an hour and a half later, a new disturbance came from the depths of the forest. Shu Yan snapped awake, sensing the Crimson King's aura. A dark red streak of light shot in and halted some 50 meters from them. A moment later, a silver insect, about 1.5 meters long, crashed to the ground in front of him. "Human brat," the Crimson King pronounced, its 3 mouths smiling in an eerie grin. "Don't say this king treated you unfairly. A 60,000-year Void Realm Worm King. A rare exotic spirit beast in the Star Do Great Forest. If it hadn't absorbed so much spatial energy in the core circle that nearby space began to tremble and fracture, this king wouldn't have given it up." Void Realm worms were normally harmless. Their presence even helped stabilize space. But this Void Realm Worm King had been devouring spatial energy to speed up its cultivation, threatening the survival of nearby spirit beasts. It happened to match Shu Yan's request perfectly, so the Crimson King knocked it unconscious and presented it to him. As expected of the Crimson King, the move satisfied Shu Yan and resolved a problem inside the core circle. Everyone benefited. Shu Yan bowed slightly. "Thank you, Senior Crimson King. Our cooperation was very pleasant. If there's ever another opportunity like this, I'll be sure to come to you again, Senior." The Crimson King paused at the strange tone in Shu Yan's words, sensing something off but unable to locate it. It simply nodded. "After you absorb the spirit ring, leave the forest area. It hasn't been peaceful here lately. You were lucky to meet this king. Someone else might not be so reasonable." With that, the Crimson King turned and departed. Nearby, the three-eyed golden lion, silently watching from hiding, prepared to return to the deeper woods as well. By common sense, neither Ditian nor the Crimson King would allow an auspicious beast to wander out of the mixed zone. Keeping them inside was for their own safety. With more powerful spirit masters entering the Stardew Great Forest to hunt, a single mistake could let an auspicious beast fall into human hands and cause catastrophic trouble. The three-eyed golden lion had only taken 2 steps when space in front of it warped. From the ripple, a uniquely shaped storage ring flew out and hung in the air before the lion. The lion glanced back and locked eyes with Shu Yan for a few seconds. Some inexplicable feeling surged through it. Then, without hesitation, it scooped the ring into its mouth and swallowed it whole, vanishing into the dense forest as the Crimson King's voice called after it in a low, almost nagging tone. Chapter 60, 5th Spirit Ability, Dimensional Cut, First Order Request. After the Red King and the three-eyed golden lion left, Shu Yan turned to look at the fallen Void Realm Insect King. Its body was plated in silver scales. In outward form, the Void Realm insect resembled many ordinary insect spirit beasts, heavily armored with a different kind of shell, but its rank was worlds apart. The Red King had explained that the Void Realm insect clan fed on spatial energy, lived inside spatial rifts, and could traverse space at will. Little was known about them outside those rifts, which only added to their mystery. Shu Yan felt satisfied with the 6th spirit ring the Red King had brought him. As the monarch of its kind, the Void Realm Insect King possessed several strange and powerful spatial spirit abilities, any of which would be invaluable to him. Its pure spatial energy alone was precious. The Insect King was, from head to toe, a treasure for Shu Yan. He exhaled a slow breath and settled cross-legged. 4 spirit rings, 2 purple, 2 black, lifted and hovered around him. The dark ring above the Void Realm Insect King was drawn toward him, descending to join the others and overlap them in a brilliant shadowed halo. The 4 watchers relaxed when they saw him begin to absorb the ring and quietly spread out to guard the area. As the sun sank and its last rays slipped through the canopy, the group settled into the forest's hush. Shu Junyu leaned against an ancient trunk in quiet meditation, while Yu Bingyan and the 2 women gathered and talked. Shu Junyu was a man of few words. Family matters and conversation seldom drew him out. Shu Yan continued drawing the Insect King's innate energy. Black chi swirled around him, mingling with the residual power left from absorbing the 100,000-year spirit bone earlier. Once the spirit ring was fully absorbed, that energy would directly affect his rank. He had a sense, steady, confident, that this ring would push him forward. Night closed over the forest. Stars pricked the sky and a crescent moon lent a pale light. Wu Ming had already returned to Shrek Academy. She'd felt the conversation between Yu Bingyan and Han Roro growing strange and, as an outsider, uncomfortable. Having volunteered to help, there was nothing more for her to do, so she left. As Shu Yan's aura congealed, the 5th ring, trembling at first, settled completely. Now 5 rings glowed around him, throwing radiant colors into the darkness, a dangerous beauty against the night. The 3 guardians watched with soft smiles. They seemed to see a new star ascending, one that might someday burn like a sun over the continent. Consciousness slowly returned to him as warm currents circulated through his limbs. His senses came back like a new birth. Body and soul rejoiced. Invisible ripples spread outward from him, and everything in their path fell briefly silent. Far away in the dark, a presence stirred. A faint glimmer of light appeared in the night, as if in answer. A Yan, congratulations, Hanroro said with a smile, taking 2 steps forward. Shu Junyo and Yu Bingyan couldn't help but smile too, pride and relief evident on their faces. Parents, after all, and they were moved to see him reach this point. Shu Yan let out a long, easy breath, a satisfied smile on his face. Rank 54, he said. A bit unexpected. The 60,000-year Void Realm Insect King ring, combined with the leftover energy from the 100,000-year Spirit Bone, had pushed his spirit power up by 4 ranks, an exceptionally fortunate result. Shu Junyu stepped forward and patted him gently on the shoulder. Are you happy with your 5th spirit ability? Shu Yan nodded. It's a single-target offensive ability, inherited from the Void Realm Insect Clan's strongest single-target art, Dimensional Cut. He paused, then explained the difference. But this is not a simple copy. My 5th ability builds on the original and can ignore all physical defenses. It also severely weakens and counters energy defenses, similar in effect to Eternal Scourge. It's an absolute ability. Barring someone with vastly higher spirit power or some exceptional life-saving artifact, this move will generally kill. The 3 Guardians were stunned. Absolute offensive and defensive abilities were legendary and rare. For Shu Yan to possess such an inexorable, terrifying power was a major boon. Yu Bingyan's expression briefly darkened at the mention of Eternal Scourge. That ability had been unique in the continent's records, born by Bibi Dong, the last empress of the Spirit Empire. But Yu Bingyan's hesitation wasn't just about power. It was tied to the old connections between such abilities and the divinities the Angel Clan revered. Angel Martial Soul Wielders traced their loyalties back to the Angel God and the old Angel Legion, and many of them remained devoted to those tenets. Still, history had taken its toll. Gods and demons alike had fallen to time. What remained was a will that urged angel bearers to destroy evil and strive for a brighter, peaceful world, a will that, if kept pure, was not without merit. Once the matter was settled, the group prepared to leave the Stardew Great Forest. Shu Junyo and Yu Bingyan would return to Lingdo City soon to handle family affairs. Shu Yan and Han Ruoruo would head back shortly afterward for a different reason. After absorbing the Golden Flame Divine Eagle's right arm bone, Han Ruoruo's spirit power had climbed to rank 79. Before long, she would break through to Spirit Douluo. They all had new paths to walk now, stronger, more dangerous, and full of unknowns. But tonight, under the quiet stars, they allowed themselves a small, private celebration of how far they had come.